Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind, and we are joined once again by Tyler Rucker, Beyond the Locker Room, Coach Roache. Everyone's here. The whole gang's back together again, and we brought a plus one. So, welcome, Tyler. How are you? How are you doing? I know this is both a stressful, but this is basically your tax season, but you're not an accountant.
Yeah, basically. No, it feels great to be back with you guys. I feel like, the draft cycle doesn't really start until I'm talking Raptors basketball with you guys. So, no, this feels good. Everything's great. I'm just counting down the days. It's one of those where I'm like, oh, it's that soon, but it's also like, all right, let's get this here already, and let's see what happens. So I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Beyond?
Well, Beyond, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Off to a good start.
I'll
He's
Never
off
been
to a
better.
great
I'll just
start.
go first here.
Interesting times, yes.
Doing
As
pretty
you can
good.
see, interesting times. We were looking forward to this draft. I think this is gonna be one of the most fascinating drafts that I've ever seen. I think a lot of stuff's gonna pop off. In the days just before the draft, the day of the draft. I don't think this is gonna be a typical. Oh, we just go down our line. Everyone just picks their sequence and their order, and we just move on. I think there's gonna be a lot of crazy things happen the week of the draft. So I'm looking forward to picking your brain, sir, on where you think things stand now. We're about now what? I guess it's 3 weeks out.
I think less.
Less.
Or less. Well, 2 weeks come this Wednesday.
Yeah.
Jeez, it really has snuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary.
It is scary. It's one of those when you get to 20 days, you're like, oh, wait, what? And then all of a sudden now it's like, okay, it's going to be 2 weeks. It's crazy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Do you have your suit picked out, Tyler, for the?
I don't think I'm going to go suit this year. I think I'm done with the suit game, but
Okay.
we'll see. I usually get peer pressured pretty hard by the team, but I feel like this year I'm like, no, got to change it up. That's a good idea though. I got to find some different shirt then. I don't think I can do the suit.
As much work as NoCeilings does in covering the draft, basically all year round, they should send you guys to New York for the draft
We're
to be
saying
there with everybody. That's just my thoughts.
I think we were gonna go like last year or something, or Corey might have and Albert went one year, and they said just the Wi-Fi situation there is really bad, and you're so behind on knowing the picks.
right.
Like you don't like when you're there, you can't find out if there was a trade or anything unless you're on Twitter. So I was like, that sounds like actually my nightmare is just not being able to know like, oh, someone got picked, but they're getting traded. Like you don't find out until Silver announces it 5 picks later. So it would be fun. But I also get like, well, it's kind of nice watching at home and you understand who got traded like right away,
Right.
which they have to change that. That's ridiculous.
But well, your area, I guess, you guys, the combine is probably where you guys feast.
Yeah. That's I think we were gonna go this year. I think next year is like we're gonna try to do it big. But the combine I would be way more excited about the combine.
For sure. Oh,
So,
man.
obviously, we have a bunch of questions for you, but before we get into it, I mean, I know it is the finals. We have to. It is basketball rewind, so of course. First of all, I know Beyond has his questions, but my thing, and I'm gonna kind of relate it back to the draft a little bit. Is there anything that you've seen in this finals that has kind of like related back to like how you think, if you were a GM, how you think that GMs are gonna be shifting? Like to me, I've definitely noticed that we might see a stronger skew towards bigger guards. I think that might be something that I see in the future. Curious what you're seeing.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the bigger guards. I think I think people underestimate how much depth you need to have to go on a deep run. Like you need to not only just have two guards that can kind of play off of each other, you need to have a backup guy who can play with them as well. Like you need to have a rotation. Indiana's like they've got a great rotation of different guards they can kind of run at you with Halliburton, Emhart, and then McConnell off the bench is fantastic like for his role. So Neesmith's been great for them. I just think you have to build depth all over the place so that you can kind of match up with teams in a different way of like, hey, what are they trying to do? Well, we have an answer for that. I think the bigger guards are always going to come into the picture, but I think when you just get versatility now from your wings and your guards of like, hey, Jalen Williams, I think coming out of the draft, a lot of people thought he was going to be a guard, and now he's playing, the 1, 2, and 3 for them, and kind of doing a little bit of everything. Sometimes they put him at the 4. Like, I think it's just you're looking for those shoot, pass, play good defense type of guys now. Like, if they can kind of bring more to the table than just what you think of a typical guard, I think that's what teams are going to look for now. And it's a copycat league every time. It's like, well, how can we become this? What do we need to do to become that? And I think teams are going to look at that. It's like, hey, you got to build your roster now. You got to build some depth.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for Jalen Williams, there was times during this year when, because of the state of their roster, he had to play even the 5 during the early part of the season. Which is kind of crazy. I mean, it's like at some point, it's like, as Beyond would say, you're going to have him making drinks, serving popcorn in the stands and everything at that point. So,
just before Beyond goes, I just want to say, you mentioned about Jalen Williams. I'll just say this quickly. I think he is Sam Presti's greatest value pick that he's had. Some of the picks, obviously, Durant, Westbrook, Harden in the past. Ibaka, yeah, but I think Jalen Williams, though, I think, man, coming out of Santa Clara, I don't know many people had him being this good.
No, he was a prospect. I got someone told me early in the year, like, hey, check this guy out. And I went home literally that night and watched him. And I was like, what the heck? It's like, why is no one talking about this kid? Because I just thought he does so much on the court, and he's got good size. It's not like he's doing all this at 6'3". Like I was like, he's 6'6" that can just take over a game in all these different ways. And I think he's one of the most important players on the Thunder. That I know how good SGA is, I know how good Chet is, but I think Chet or J-Dub's, like, you have to have him. Yep. Like, he is so important. He does so much. So, I agree with you, Coach. I think he's one of Presti's best picks. Really do.
Beyond, your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to shift it a little bit, but keep it within the finals discussion talk. Just want to get your thoughts on where you see, what you think about this series. I'll let you go where you want with it. What you see of the series. You want to do some prognostication, like who you had in this case when the series started. Are you getting a little cold feet in this case here now after 2 games, or are you feeling still good?
It's been what I want it to be, this series. It was funny because I feel like everyone was just ready to be like, hey, Thunder in 5 or 6. And I was like, I'm not so sold on it being an easy experience for the Thunder, because just Indiana, there is something about a team that just continues to battle and continues to find ways. And it's like, we're down 20. It's like, well, we're going to find a way. And I think the first game I was watching, and every time the score got like to 10 or 12 or 15, I was like, it doesn't feel like 15. Because Indiana just kept throwing punches back. Like, they were just staying the course and fighting and battling. I was like, man, this team just doesn't give up ever. And then them just coming back at the end and pulling that off, I was like, oh my gosh, this team is freaky. It's like Team of Destiny vibe. So I kind of thought going into it, I was like, they match up pretty well with OKC. I don't think this is going to be just a sweep like everyone, and I know people just overreact, but I was like, I think Indiana might be able to give them a little run for their money, just because they've got some depth. They've got guys they can throw all over the place. So I don't know. I'm really interested. I thought tonight's game was going to happen. I thought OKC was going to respond and be like, we have to take care of business. So it's now going to be like, okay, well, what can the Pacers do at home? Like, can you take care of business at home? And I think Game 3 is going to be huge, because that place is going to be freaking out, and OKC is going to know it. They're going to be like, we gotta steal one. We have to steal one some way. But I think the Pacers are going to be pumped up now, because now I think they've got real belief of, like, we can do this. We're not afraid of them. Like, we can do it, but you got to take care of business. So, I mean, they were down big game 1 and fought back, and then game 2, OKC took care of it. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a really fun series. Like, I was excited from a team building perspective. Like, coming into this, I was like, I'm geeking out on this. This is exactly what I love. Like, one team built through the draft, the other one's sort of a little half and half of, like, let's take some second contract guys, let's build them. So I like it so far. I think it's great for basketball. Like, I get the big market desire, but I love this. This is awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it is a really fascinating and fun matchup. I mean, I was running through my head of like from different comps and from the standpoint of like youngest teams ever. I think they had, I can't remember, his NBA radio mentioned who's the youngest team ever that won the championship. They're
Oh
second,
gosh.
they're second youngest. The youngest team, oh, I had it in my head
Hey,
just now.
Portland 77.
That's it,
That
right? Yeah,
Portland?
Blazer Mania. Yes,
Wow.
yes, yes. Yeah. And and funny enough, it's interesting that it's Portland 77 because that was going through a time where the league was kind of like having a champion every year, very similar to what we're going through now. There was no one dominant team. So I find that fascinating. And then on the Indiana side, it's like, okay, what's the type of thing from a team standpoint? And I heard some guys saying it's like could be like the '04 Pistons kind of. It's a little like that where there's not one guy you could key in on in this case. At any given night, one guy could kind of blow up on you. They do have a slight pecking order, but it's a fuzzier pecking order than your typical one, like say OKC, right? OKC is a classic pecking order. I kind of in the old era they'd be like the Bulls.
Hmm.
My mindset is if I'm Pacers, Shea, score 40, knock yourself out. But I'm taking number two out the way. In this case, it would be Mr. Williams. Because to me, he plays the role like Pippen. And I think he's the guy I will be attacking because as he goes, they go. And in my mind, he's the guy I'll be attacking because he had a few moments. He had some migraine Scottie Pippen moments in that last series where I'm like, whoa, hey, I'd ask my man here, Kenya, like, what's going on with your boy, man? Like, I'm seeing some 1990, 1989 stuff from Pippen on here, boy. I ain't liking what I'm seeing, man. I'm just saying, there's some deer in the headlights going on here. Like, he and Chet, boy. I was like,
Hey man, sometimes you got to go through those lessons. That's all
might
I'm
be a lot
saying.
of Pippen horse, boy. Like, we're looking around like, man, guys want to come along for the ride. What the hell?
But that's a good point. I think we all, everyone's like, hey, OKC's unbelievable this year. And it's like they still have to win. They
Yeah.
still have to get over that mountaintop. And I think one of the most underrated things with, these young teams in the playoffs is like you have to learn how to be a champion. Like the Magic were always the best example with like back in the day with Shaq and everything is like, well, they never got to it because they got there and they were so good. They're like, we made it. And Houston just kind of took care of that. But I just OKC, I think they still got to learn how to like, hey, you got to get to the finals, and then you got to learn how to put it away. And like a team like Indiana, game one, proved that they're ready to give you all the money's worth. So I don't know. They're an awesome team. They could be a problem for years to come, but this is why I love like the Pacers too. It's just because you get a scrappy team like that, just get them in the playoffs, and they're gonna think they can beat anyone.
I use the comp, Tyler. I tell the guys, I use the comp of OKC a bit like Tyson.
Yeah,
They're going to take you out in those first 3-4 rounds.
yeah, right,
You get
right.
late rounds, you get those rounds with 2 digits on them, it can get dicey.
Yeah,
It can get dicey. All of a sudden, the jabs, those hooks ain't feeling the same way they did in the first quarter.
yeah. Not as much strength with it, but I know what you mean. I mean, it seems like they're the heavyweight sluggers that all of a sudden it's like, well,
Yeah.
someone eventually is going to be able to stay up with you. So that's why I think this series is going to be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Just to shift back towards the draft, and I'm going to only ask you just one question about this. Sorry, but based on what happened, the way that the Celtics ended their
My condolences, by the
yeah,
way.
sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
And based on the fact that they have the 28th pick, with how that ended, how does that shifted their strategy? Do you think?
Yeah, it's I have no idea. Like I've literally been thinking about this like every day since the season's left.
Yeah.
Well, it's just one of those of like,
Yeah.
it's not even as like a fan.
Yeah.
I just sitting as a draft, guy, like and a team guy. Like I always just kind of focus on like, hey, what would I do here, and then see what they would do. And I look at it and I'm like, you could go 20 different directions. Like you could either
Really
try to take 2 guys and then you're moving your vets to get under the second apron. You could try to package them to go up a little bit if you like a guy in the early 20s to try to just get one big or one guard. I don't know. Or you could just trade back. But I think they have to take picks. And with the Tatum injury, I think you've got to try to be like, we got to get some depth because we're going to trade some guys. And this team's going to look way different. It's just I wasn't shocked about the Knicks series because I was like, they're probably running on fumes from Team USA, and everyone's been playing basketball year round from the last finals run. So I was like, they're probably on fumes. And then when they blew a couple games, I was just like, oh, this is just not the year. They're just not going to pull it off.
Right.
But the Tatum injury, I was just like, oh gosh, this team's going to be completely different now. Like this, just the roster's going to be scrapped. So I have no idea. I think you got to try. I would stay put and try to be like, we got to get 2 depth pieces. We got to get some boring stuff like a Ryan Kalkbrenner, maybe a Walter Clayton. Like you just got to get some guys that are like, hey, let's get some. Yeah, like I tie it into baseball, and I always say like you got to hit some singles this draft. You can't swing for the fence. You got to hit some singles or some doubles and just keep moving forward. But I don't know. It's really interesting. I thought they were sitting pretty before a lot of the guys decided to go back to college. I was like, the Celtics are in a nice spot here. There's going to be some good value. And now I'm like, whoo, it's going to get thin pretty quick. So I don't know.
Well, that's an interesting thing because based on what you're saying, and we don't have to go too much in this, but based on what you're saying, you're essentially saying we are not trading Jaylen Brown because that's based on what it sounds like that way.
I mean, what am I a GM or am I? If I'm GM, I'm calling everyone.
Okay.
Like, hey, I'm like, hey, what would Jaylen do for you? I'd probably call San Antonio. I'd say, what would Jaylen for 2? Any talk? Like you never know. If you loved Dylan Harper, if you're like, hey, and it's not just straight up for that. But I think it would be a very aggressive move if you're going to do that. You would,
right?
I still kind of want to see. It's like I want to see what Jaylen has of a year of like it's your team next year.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see that too.
And
what it looks like,
and he should have the best offseason ever because he should be like, I'm gonna show everyone. This is my year to show everyone what I can do. So I kind of want them to. I think they're gonna run it back.
Yeah,
and that would if I was a GM, I'd be like, I want to see what this looks like too. So go ahead.
Controversial. I actually think the way their team is built, Jaylen Brown being kind of the focal point actually is a better match than say if it was Tatum.
Brad's such a weird mad scientist. They're gonna make some moves, and people are gonna be like, "What are they talking about?" And it's gonna be him building something to build off of Jaylen. Like I wouldn't be shocked if Jaylen's just unbelievable next year, and that team's. People are going to be like, what? How are they still playing good? Like Tatum's I think they're going to have to make some tough moves, but they're going to try to get some guys to kind of rebirth their value with the Celtics. Like they get good guys to all of a sudden like, this guy hasn't been playing for a couple of years. Now he's playing great. Like Horford reinvented his stock after the Sixers debacle. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I think they're going to run it back with Jaylen, and I think they're going to try to get some 2 picks, in this draft, like because they have the second pick in the second round too, so they have a good spot to get some good range, good value. But man, what a weird like I was excited for this draft in the playoffs for the Celtics. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a big draft now. It's just crazy.
I always say things move fast in the NBA.
Oh man, it's one game.
I mean, we're not going to get too much into it, but in terms of the Giannis rumors and everything, and I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, well, like a 3-year window isn't that long, and I was like, that's a long window in today's NBA.
A big window.
I'm like, that's like. It goes fast. Like sometimes I mean, I even think about San Antonio with Wemby. It's like, like people are like, oh yeah, you have all the time. It's like, no, you don't have the time. Like you just got to go for it at some point. You can't be waiting when you know that you have like the dude, the guy. So
you put this in perspective. In 3 years' time, assuming that rumors are true, say Mr. Durant gets traded, he would be on 3 teams technically in 3 years.
Right.
That says a lot too.
Okay.
That changes that changes the whole how you view a player when they're all of a sudden like a mercenary like that too. It's interesting. To get more into the draft though, let's just dive into it. So we've had a couple of we've had a couple of debates. We've got to start with that debate,
Okay.
and then eventually kind of move our way closer to something that's a little bit new. We've been debating Noa Eseengue and Carter Bryant
Okay.
for a while now. We have people on this panel that stand on one side versus the other side with the two people, specifically as it comes to the number 9 pick. I'm, I guess, yeah, it's.
I love them both, so I'm just like, wait, you guys got one? This is great. So you just take one. No, go ahead.
No, I'm curious where you stand on those two, specifically for the number 9 pick.
I think Noah's a little bit more of the unknown, like everything's coming together, but how, like, I don't even think a pro comp's fair for him right now because we don't know. Like, we don't know what his ceiling is with his game. He might just be coming together, and he's lengthy. He's way more athletic than I think people think, and I'm a sucker for the guys that just like somehow they're always finding a way to make an impact on the floor, whether it's rebounding or hustle points or, just defensive plays. Like I always I feel when he's playing. And my biggest red flag with scouting is when I don't notice you're on the court, right? It's like a big red flag for me. Like I write down like ghost.
Yes.
I didn't know he was on the court for 3 minutes. Like when did he check in? So I always feel when Noah's out there, even when he's not touching the ball, like I feel he's trying to make an impact. He's hustling. I feel the same way about Carter Bryant. I feel this year was such a big step for his maturity of like he found out how to play on a team that like he didn't touch the ball a lot because they had guys that loved to dribble the air out of it.
Hey man, we're Tar Heel fans.
Yeah, you guys know, especially. So I'm so happy that experience is done. But like I watched this year and I was like, he's never going to touch the ball. But then he figured out like he was nervous to start the year. I could tell watching him because he's like, how do I stay on the court? And then I think he figured out I'm going to play good defense. I'm going to be a catch and shoot guy. And he became a heck of a defender by the end of the year. So I think you're getting two different type of players that are crazy upside that I think are starting to believe in themselves, which is the most exciting thing to draft is when it's like, hey, I'm starting to believe in my abilities as a basketball player. So I love both of them for Toronto. Like they would be at the top of my board for the Raptors, probably over some other names, because I just think it's a great place. It's a great foundation for them to go, because there is a lot of vets and players on this roster that they don't have to come in and be like, you have to produce immediately. It's like, no, bring them along, let them lean on their strengths a little bit to create some confidence. So I'm curious of who you guys. I'm trying to guess now who likes who.
Who do you think?
I'm gonna say Coach likes Noah.
I like
Beyond
home run pick. Yeah, go. Sorry.
Okay. Beyond likes Carter.
Correct.
And then
I'm
gonna say you're gonna like Noah too.
Yes.
You are correct.
Wow.
Yes.
It's almost like I like you guys or something.
What's the rationale? I need to know how you're getting to that conclusion.
No, I feel like from doing the pods with you guys each year, I'm like, I know their styles. I know the type of guys you like. Look, I think Noah's the home run swing, but I also think Carter's a bit of a Noah's a grand slam.
Yeah.
I think Carter could be a home run.
I think so too. And I mean, I just want to comment. I put a comment when you guys did that show. I say, hey man, I think the same way a lot of times with these things. And I was sitting there in the pews when you were talking about Bryant. And I was sitting there, I was just got the fan going. I was like, yo, amen, hallelujah. I was like, yo, because I was thinking I'm like the only person crazy. But I think there's a lot more going on with this young man than people think. And when you said that, I was like, okay, I am not going crazy. There's someone for a living. And he say the same thing. He's in your state. That's your team. I'm like, okay. I'm like, yo, I ain't going crazy. I'm sitting there going, I think there's something here. I said, I was trying to find a way to formulate the right way, but then when I watched you guys do your podcast that day talking about it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's it right there. I had to comment on that. I was like, thank you.
Oh man, I love both of them. I mean, and it's two prospects in this class I like I've known for the last couple of years. Like I one of my good buddies was Rachel Farr-Ohm's developmental coach when Noah wasn't even playing with the big team. He was playing with their academy team, and he's like, we got this kid down here. Because I was asking about Pacome Dadier at the time. I was like, tell me about Pacome. I watched this kid, Basketball Without Borders. I really like him. He's with your club. And then he's like, hey, Pacome's great. We need to talk about Noah. I was like, this kid's 16. What are you talking about? Like, we got time. And he's like, no, you need to start watching him now. I watched a couple of his games lower, and I was like, what the heck? This kid's all over the place. And he was just putting up 33 and 15 against, younger kids. So I was like, okay, like he needs to play up. And I just heard nothing but great things. But then like the same time, I was at Nike Hoop Summit, and I was like, who's this skinny wing? Like this kid looks like he's barely eaten. And it was Carter Bryant. Fast forward a year later, Carter Bryant was back at that same thing. Like he was part of the scrimmaging teams. A year later, he was back scrimmaging against Cooper Flag and stuff. And I was like, what did he gain? 50 pounds? Like he just looked like he'd been living in the weight room. And then I saw him this year, and I was like, he looked even bigger. Like and it's all good muscle. And it just goes to what I've heard about like him as a kid and his work ethic. And so there's just two kids that I especially have been like following, that I love both of them as prospects, that I just think are just continue to go up. So that's why, like Toronto, I would just be like, oh, what a great landing spot for either of them.
Yeah. I mean, if I don't know if you want us to dive into the debate a little bit. But
go crazy. I love this.
So, you know what? Beyond, you can go first if you want.
Okay. So I'm a person in this case here. I had the philosophy all year when we thought we were going to have a top 5 pick before the Raptors decided to do all sorts of craziness. And I thought we actually were going to have a top 5 pick. I am of the mindset of, the coach's point, going for the home run swing. I want the highest talent possible. However, there is a caveat in this case here, because I know the team that we have, I can't start with, I guess something that's something that I have to mold more. Let's put it that way. I need a bit more of a foundation. And my concern with Noah, which I think he could be a great pro in this case here, but I don't know if this is the franchise for him, because I think there's a couple things with the players around him. I don't like the matchup with him with certain players on this team. And I'm also concerned about how the development will be with him, because I think he will need more development up front. Now, I'm not really sure, based on some of the stuff I've seen so far in the last 2 years. I would be very concerned about that myself, personally. Okay, because we got to be honest about it. The biggest priority in this case, for a development standpoint for this team, was one Scott Barnes. And it's been shaky, I would say, put it that way, after year 4. I'll just leave it at that for the time being. So so that was my thing with Noah. On the Bryant side, the fact that he has some skills right now that I can slot him in tomorrow, and he could be literally starting. The defense and the 3-point shooting. And I'm straight, even if he did nothing else. But I think, to your point that you made your assessment, there's little elements and hints of something I think that's more. Now, I know in this case, the other side has their point about it, and it's a fair point. It's like, well, why didn't you do this sooner? I get it, but I think there is a aspect of the context of who he's playing with and what he's focused on his role. I think he might be something of a diamond in the rough, and even at the worst case scenario, he is actually for value. Even if nothing else happens, and he's a Keegan Murray that actually plays defense. All right. If that's the worst of it, and that's the floor, I'll roll with the number 9 pick. But if there's more to it, well, now we might be on to something. Now we're cooking with something there. So that was my theory of why I like Bryant more. And to your point, the NBA body that's already there, like, he's not lacking meals. Young man, let's face it. These days, this ain't the old school days, Tyler. These fellas nowadays, man, they need some ground provisions. They're not really like how we used to know them back in the day, when it's like guys used to come out. It's like, okay, it looks like men come out. Like Chris Webber looks like a man walking into the thing. We ain't getting that no more. So everyone here looks like you can use a little meal time here, a little meal time there. Not him. Bryant is like, yo, I'm ready to go right now. Coming out the wrapping, ready to roll.
Fair enough. Coach, I'm not sure if you want to go or if you want me to.
Yeah, no. I'm going to take 2 points on this. Masai Ujiri has not drafted outside the NCAA, basically. He's done it one time 10 years ago. These guys know with Bruno Caboclo. That they go so well. Now, mind you, we did not have a G
Whose
League.
case is he making there, kid?
We had the infancy of a G League at that time. Now, until last year, Urashamshe was the next guy to be drafted outside of the NCAA. But the track record of the first round, anyway, has always been NCAA guys. OG, Pascal, Grady Dick, Jacoby Walter, Jamal Shed. I know he's in the second round. So they seem to have a lot, Scotty Barnes. They have a lot of success of drafting in the NCAA. When I look at Noah, though, because I see this, toolsy prospect, jump shot looks fine to me. I'm not saying he's good to be like Ace Bailey or anything like that. But some of these strides that I see him, like when he splits the gap on defense and he steals the ball on one side of the court, it might be 2 dribbles and he's at the rim on the other side. He's got these long Giannis-type strides. And people, I'm not comparing him to Giannis. But we have to clarify that, Tyler, sometimes.
No, I hear you. It's fine.
But I think there's something about that type of prospect that scouts can drool over a little bit. But then there's Carter Bryant, and I'm like, he seems like the Masai safe pick. I don't mean safe in a bad way. I mean safe. He played the NCAA, and I have maybe a better idea of his game transferring to the NBA. So I like to see. I'm a little bit more higher on Essengue, but if we were to draft Carter Bryant, I'm perfectly fine with that because, like Beyond said, there's 2 definite skill sets that he has: play defense, great athlete, shoot threes.
Yeah, it weirdly feels like it would just be a win-win with either of those picks.
Yeah,
And I think both of them have really high ceilings. I just think Noah's might be like a slight higher, and it's just because exactly what you're saying. It's you kind of watch some stuff he does in the court, and I joked in the beginning here. I was like, I don't think he knows how good he can be because he just has some athletic gifts and his length. And now I feel like everything's like it's almost like his body's starting to fall into place where everything's kind of getting fluid and the shots really taking a good step from like last year. So I think everything's coming together. He played like the Portland Trailblazers in preseason, and Noah was holding his own. I'm like, if he's holding his own right now, with how young he is during this game, so I think he's got a crazy. There's a real world where he develops into something really crazy for this draft, this league. But I also think Carter's. I think he's got a lot more to his game than people are realizing, because I think the situation was tough. I had scouts text me throughout the year like, what the heck is Tommy Lloyd doing? Why doesn't he play this kid all the time? And I was like, I agree. And I know what they were doing, but it was just like, okay, he's one of the best guys on the team right now. So Carter, I think is the 3-and-D with legit 2-way nasty like all-star upside. I really, that's how I feel about both of them. I've been high on Noah as a prospect all year. I feel like I was taking crazy pills because no one at NoCeilings would jump on that train with me, and then I was like, all right, fine, I'll go down swinging, and he's been great to end the year. And then Carter Bryant, I just think is a really safe but high upside guy, which you usually don't find those. There's usually some risk, but I feel like worst case scenario, you're getting an athletic 3-and-D guy with great instincts. Best case scenario, he develops his on-ball creation, and there's another world of like, whoa, this is fun.
Yeah. Just one more thing.
Yeah.
I feel Noah is getting the push that Koulibaly got a few years back. This guy who he was more of an unknown than Noah. I get that, but when Koulibaly kept playing and that league kept going on past the NCAA tournament into the NBA playoffs, and of course Wemby and stuff like that, you're just looking at this guy go, what draft boards? And you're like, man, there might be something here. And I find Noah's getting a little bit of that treatment now. It's like, oh, it's the guy outside the U.S. who's playing right now, and that's the prize prospect we're all looking at.
Yeah, it's my favorite time of the year when everyone starts going like, "Oh, this guy's easily going up," and it's like, well, it's because they're the only teams playing right now. So I get it, but he has been great. But yeah, the late run of the international guys is always fun because all of a sudden Traore will play good, and people will be like, "Well, he's been playing really good lately," and it's like, well, we're just bored. We're trying to figure out something to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get to my thoughts about Traore in a second because I know I had issues with this him taking certain step back, threes. I'm like, I don't know why you're doing this, dude. Like, I get it, you're talented, but like you're making life more difficult for yourself when you don't need to. But just in terms of the two guys, so I'm going to be a little bit harsher here.
Great.
I'm going to stamp my side a little bit. First thing, with Carter, he is athletic. I've heard people compare him to OG and others. I think the difference to me is he's more fluid than OG, no question. He doesn't walk around like he's putting something on his back. Fair enough. But at the same time, OG is powerful.
Oh, yeah.
The strides are just like I went and looked at some of his early rookie tape. Some of the tape of him, not in high school, but the tape of him in college, and I forgot how powerful, even with the injuries, how powerful of a leaper and just his first step was.
Indiana, right?
Yes,
he was he was a bad man.
Yes, he was dunking on fools all the time, and I'm not saying that Carter can't dunk on people or anything like that, but there's just a difference in terms of that, especially that first step, in terms of him being able to get by guys. OG, for all the flack that I've given him over the years for his handle, he still had just his within two strides, 1, 2, especially with the power that he would generate through his back foot. I haven't quite seen it with Carter. And so I it's not that I'm not high on him. I see him more as a safe pick, like how Coach was saying, where I'm like, I think he's going to be an impact player day one. But yeah, the other thing, it mainly goes to whether or not there's untapped potential. Now, some people would say he played with Jace Richardson. Some people would also argue whether or not Jace Richardson, this is not this year, but before. I personally don't know if Jace Richardson is a traditional point guard enough. It's not like playing with Kasparis in terms of someone orchestrating an offense, especially in high school and AAU and all that. So I think it's hard to really know. But there is a lack of sample size there from like a creation standpoint. And I've seen some games where he's gone off. I went back even in high school. I'm searching, man. I'm trying to get on Beyond's side. But I'm not seeing it with any sort of real consistency. And to Beyond's point, it's like, do I trust this coaching staff to get that out of him when it's also like, well, Scotty needs to cook a little bit this quarter and like maybe see if he's a point guard for, year 5 in a row versus, what I can get out of maybe Noa Eseengue. And I mean, it's a real question, right?
It's a real question.
That's where I'm like, I think that Noah does a little bit more just with his activity, and he kind of fill in the gaps a little bit more and just find ways to kind of like work out a little bit more easily when if he, Darko does occasionally like to experiment with guys, like there's a little bit more there. Also, compared to Coulibaly, now it's not the fairest comparison because they're not the same type of player, but I'm just in terms of some of the things that I'm seeing from him, I find him more refined compared to Coulibaly at this time of the year. And so that's where, and I like the mystery box. Who doesn't like the box?
No, 100%. Well, the mystery box, if you hit, it's like, oh my gosh, we're good for 10 years. I mean, that's why it's such a big swing, and they're in the perfect range where it's like you could swing. Yeah. Like there's a chance right here to really swing at something. Carter's handle is his Achilles heel right now because if his handle was good, he'd be a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
Like I no doubt in my mind he would be a top
I'd
five
have
pick.
less concerns because it's like I looked at his. I can't remember if he's a good rim finisher or not. I haven't looked at the numbers.
He I know what you're saying about the OG stuff because
Yeah.
Carter's. How do I break this down? I don't like ever saying this name, but like Gerald Green was just like he floated in the air. I feel like Carter has that, but like there's also power guys that are just like Dominique Wilkins. No one will ever be that, but like to me, it was just like that is a train that floats through the air. You're not stopping him. So like Carter doesn't have that, but I also like Carter's a late bloomer. Or where it was like he was skyrocketing up these high school ranks because he was this twig, and then all of a sudden it was like, wait, this kid's becoming a 5-star recruit, and he's getting recruited by Arizona. So I still think he's skyrocketing up his like upside, but I completely agree. Like he doesn't have to unlock much of his handle, but he has to get a couple moves early.
It has to just be functional.
He just has something. He has to have a counter. He has to have something that it's. A simple crossover to get to a shot. Like he has a couple flashes of it, but it's you got to keep it simple.
On our squad,
Tyler, this is my point in the argument, right? Because if I'm looking at the Raptors base and comes to development, which is likely to be a better skill set that I can improve on faster? A guy improving his handle and open up the rest of his game, or a guy in this case hoping that he can actually be a jump shooter in this case here and pull up in this case and be kind of an organizer of offense or something like that in this case, where you already have a couple of guys who are trying that with right now, and it ain't working out real great for them. So I am a little nervous at that part because to me that's a harder road to
right.
go. And at this point.
I mean, I had a buddy that coached in the league for a while. He was an assistant, and I kind of asked him once, and he's like, I believe this way, and every developmental guy believes this way. He said, the handles is the least of my worry. If we just have to work on his handle, like we'll get the handles better. He said the handle and the shot. He said as long as the shot has a good foundation, these guys aren't going to school anymore. So what are they going to do? They're going to come in and they're going to shoot and dribble the ball. Like we'll be fine. We'll figure it out. But I mean, I'm a Celtics fan. I've watched Jaylen Brown from when he was at Cal to now, and he still struggles at times. But like it's ridiculous how much better his handles gotten.
Right.
But still,
was their guy here in our city.
And
every summer.
That's the biggest thing I always tell people is like it's not going to happen at once. It's going to be like one summer he creates a counter. The next summer he adds a little bit to it. So I think that's also where you get the youth, and I think it's also with Noah too. It comes down to like, okay, who's got the work ethic to be like keep adding to my game, keep improving. But I get it. It's a weakness.
No, I do want to say something.
Yeah,
because one of my viewers put this in one of the comments. I personally don't see Noah as a center, so I'm just curious how you see it because I don't see him as a center.
No,
I think he's just playing a center in that on that specific team for a number of reasons, but I don't think he's a center long term.
No,
really. So yeah,
no. He'd have to have like Giannis's weight gain, but I'd still probably then want him not as a center.
Yeah,
I get why people throw Giannis around for him. It's just because it's just the athletic. Like, look how quickly he gets up the court with the ball in his hand.
Yeah,
but no, I want him as a forward.
That makes sense. Just rapid fire for the next one is just: do you think that Drake Powell deserves more shine than he's gotten?
Oh man, that's
a help out good Tar boy. Come on.
A little yes. We did a mock today at NoCeilings, and we get some arguments this time of the year. I think Drake was one of them, but and his wasn't a bad argument. It was the defense is clearly much better than people realize, and it's obvious on the court that like he's that comfortable defensively. But we were just saying, like, if you had multiple picks in the first round, you probably want to swing on that if you felt good about your staff. I think he deserves a little bit more shine. It was a tough North Carolina fit. I thought it was a tough fit for him and Ian.
Can I actually selfishly as a Tar Heels fan here?
Yeah.
My fellow Tar Heels fan, Mr. Coach Roache. But what's happened to the recruiting process with us? What the hell's going on here? Like, seriously, we're like caviar fine wine. We out here getting guys in this case are just plugging holes. Like, come on, man. what's going on here? I'm looking at Kentucky and Duke and everyone else. Like, what happened to us?
Oh, you guys got my Arizona boy this year. Oh gosh.
The wing.
No, the big guy, the big white guy. Gosh,
yes,
dang it, Tyler. You do this for a living. What's wrong with you?
I know. I see him right now. I know what you're talking about. But like,
anyways, I'll figure it out.
It just seems so few. And I'm like, I don't know what's happened to us. I mean, Gonzaga's getting better process on a consistent basis, and I was like, what's going on here?
It is a little weird.
The whole conference, I like ACC. What's going on? Like, that's a whole other discussion. Like, I don't know. I teased a friend of mine. I said, like, when did the SEC become the basketball conference in this game?
It is weird with North Carolina. I keep waiting. I'm like, okay, basketball is better with the Tar Heels also kicking butt. So, yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
That's my rant for the day.
Well, okay. So I the other thing is just Nick Clifford versus Rasheer Fleming. Now, I personally think Rasheer Fleming at 9 is a little bit of a reach, depending on which way you go. I mean, I don't like. We talked earlier. There's a lot that could happen, whether you're the Raptors or other teams. So I don't know. Like,
I like both of those.
Here,
yeah,
right?
I like both of those guys a lot. I think they're going a lot later than
9. I'm going to ask you that. Like, it seems like they're kind of like on the survivors on the island. Like, only one of them survived the top 10, right? Ain't both these dudes getting picked the top 10.
No, I mean, I love Neek.
Yeah,
I think he's probably going to go closer to just from
like in the early 20s.
Yeah, which is like,
yeah,
someone's going to commit robbery, in my opinion. But that's the vibe I've kind of heard, is it's going to be more towards like the late teens or early 20s, which I'm just like, okay. That's a decision. Yeah, there you go. And then I think Rasheer could go a little bit later than people are ready for. Yeah, and I just think he'll be 20s. And I like them both a lot. Like, I have higher than that on my board. Huh? Yeah, that's gonna. The problem is when you start listing all the names and everything, you start going, I'm running out of spots. Like, I have 25 names and 15 spots. What's going on here?
I talked to the guys the other night. I said, we got to put an all points bulletin on conspiracy. Everyone kind of forgot about it for the last month. Like, what happened? Like, it's like, my man is like, no one's talking about it anymore. Like, what happened?
Right.
Like,
hey, man, I still believe in you, conspiracy.
Tyler, it seems like Cedric Coward is getting a lot of talk. And this is a 21, 22-year-old prospect, I think. Only played how many games this year? 10 games?
6 games.
He had a shoulder injury or something like that, I believe. And, I mean, when I watched some of his workouts, the jump shot looks fantastic. He looks like he's a pretty good athlete as well. Where do you see the highest that he might go, realistically?
Yeah, it's an awesome story. He started at D3. He's kind of worked his way up. Went to Eastern Washington, I believe, and then Washington State this last year. And I thought, after a couple of games this year, I said, "Oh gosh, he's gonna be a first rounder if he plays the whole year." And then boom, he gets hurt. He's out for the year. Now he's looking like he's gonna still be one. So he's a smart kid. I think really speaks well of himself and like just knows the game, can shoot it. He's lengthy. He's the 3-and-D, the stretched out version. And I was telling my co-host for our podcast, Tyler Metcalf, the other day, I said, this is a guard heavy draft. And the 3-and-D guys are getting buzzed right now because everyone's like, if we don't get one of these guys, it drops off quick. And every team's always looking for these guys. But I think both, Carter Bryant and Cedric's a little older, but I still think he's got upside with his game. So I don't know how early is too early. Like, I still think he's going to, like, we're going to kind of pump the brakes a little bit and be like, okay, maybe late lottery, inside the 20s, but it's just one of those names too. Like it only takes one team to fall in love. So maybe he does end up going 11th or 12th, but,
this is where
I
you
still
get
would be
survivor,
shocked,
right? Like where someone gets voted off the island because it's like not everyone can move up. Someone has to go later.
Exactly. And it's one of those, the late buzz is always one I'm a little cautious of, like the late, we're really, and I was like, okay, well, soon enough we have downtime. So like he was buzzing during the combine, and I'm like, soon enough everyone kind of gets level headed, and it's like, okay, wait a second, like how high are we going to take this guy? But you know, I've seen it before with, you know, Patrick Williams all of a sudden was like a mid lottery or mid first round guy to all of a sudden like he's going to go fourth. Like what? So that's kind of why this next couple of weeks gets crazy, because he just, all it takes is to get a little bit of momentum at the perfect time, and you can really go up. So I still think he'll be outside the top 10.
When I was watching you and Tyler Metcalf, it was a couple of weeks ago, I think. You guys were doing what ifs, I think, with teams.
What ifs?
And I had to say, these guys are paying attention to our team, because Tyler Metcalf said something only Raptor fans would know. You said, I think you asked the question, you said, what should the Raptors do? And he looked at the screen and said, stop drafting toolsy forwards who can't shoot. And I'm like, he watches us, man. You guys pay attention to us. And I was just like, I kind of did like a little slow clap for a bit, because I'm like, oh man, these guys, they know. I think he'd pointed to Cedric Howard as a potential possibility. I'm like, yeah, the guy can shoot. And there is a maturity aspect about it. I know Beyond has kind of said on the show a little bit, give me someone that I kind of know what I'm getting. I think even Kenyon said about, you know, the toy in the box, you kind of know what you're getting instead of the mystery box. So I think with Cedric Howard, you kind of have an idea maybe what he's getting just because of his age and his maturity, where he's at right now.
I think he would have been a lock for the lottery if he played all year, because he's just smooth and kind of has like he just has that NBA vet kind of offensive game of like, I know how to take you off the dribble and kind of lean back and get my own. I a little Michael Bridges ish, but I also think like just way smoother offensive. And then he's got nastiness defensively to like meet you at the top. So like it would be a bit of a curveball, but I would also be like, I like the pick a lot. And I think Raptor fans would be like, oh, we're on board quickly, you know, because he just can shoot. He can be a two-way guy, and he's really smart. So I feel like that's what I've always wanted with the Raptors. I'm like, just get a couple more shooters, and this thing's really going to cook. We just need some shooters. So I think he would be a little bit of like maybe it's an outside the box, or maybe you get lucky, you trade back a couple spots, and you're like, we're going to get Cedric Howard and future asset or something. I don't know. But he's a good one.
I know Beyond has one question.
Sorry.
Then after that, no. But then after, there's one final section, because I know we've taken up so much of your time.
No, you're good.
You know, that's related to. I have an over/under question for you, sir. But
this is not even a question, actually. I just want to tell you that you can tell your co-host, the other Tyler in this case, that amongst these three Raptor fans, the three letters we do not want to hear a draft night associated with the Raptors is CMB. Let me tell you right now, if those three letters come up with the Raptors, I mean, coach has already said he's gonna walk home that night, pretty much.
I would be questioning extensions on.
I think he had a good workout there, guys. I think he had a good workout there.
I have no doubt that he had a great workout.
See, you're messing with us, man.
No, I'm just telling you. I've heard he had a good. I've heard a couple guys had good workouts there, but that was one of them. And I said, please, no more Raptors fans.
It's not this young man, Tyler. He looks like a terrific defensive prospect.
Right.
Just not for us. Not at 9.
There's just too many times when you're like, okay, stop punching yourself in the face.
Yes.
Quit hitting yourself. Quit hitting yourself.
Like we're hitting the rink every single time.
Yeah, sideshow Bob, stepping on the ring and hitting it, and then another 2 steps with the big feet.
Everybody, like the Raptor fans are Raptor brass think that every single dude that comes up is gonna be the next Siakam. No, guys, there's only one Siakam. Okay?
Well, it's funny too, because I've seen maybe Tyler, you feel this strongly about CMB, but I've heard people say, he's like a top 2 pick. He's a top 3, and I was like, Like
He can't shoot.
Can't shoot.
well, but you say that, right? It's like I've literally the conversations that I've had with people where people are saying, but if he just steps out like X amount of time, I'm like, we've seen this before. People like it just it's not that it can work. It is always hypothetical. You go to 2K, you add up the little slider, right? You know what I'm talking about. You do the little drill a couple times, man.
Yeah. It's
Tyler, you're giving me queasy feelings in my stomach right now with that phrase, man. Please don't tell me good workout.
no. I asked one scout as we were talking back and forth, and I was like, "What do you think of?" Finally, I was like, "What do you think of Murray Boyles?" And he's like, "I have this saved on my phone." And he literally sends me a clip, and it's Murray Boyles shooting a 3 in a game, and it's like it's a corner 3 that's 5 feet from the rim on the right. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he's like, I don't get it. And he's not the only one. Like, there's a lot of scouts like, I don't get it. I was shocked how tall he measured. Everyone around the league thought he was going to be 2 inches shorter. He's such a good defensive prospect. Like, he's really nasty. He's tough. I really like his playmaking. I think it's something that's underrated.
He's a great understanding of the game.
But what else?
But you know what? For me, it's you can't recreate. Draymond. You can't recreate Draymond. You just can't. Draymond is Draymond. Maybe CMB is CMB, and that's like something new. But on this team,
I have to have a specific. If I'm a GM, I have to have this is the piece we're missing. We have everything else, but we're missing this piece. And I watch him, and I'm like, I would dream of taking this at 17.
Yeah,
it's early.
I was gonna say, if OKC, they would OKC, oh my goodness, because it's
but that's exactly the type of player that I would be like, OKC is just this is the missing ingredient. You're getting him at 20, and you're a playoff team that's now we get this nasty, versatile guy that doesn't need to score. He doesn't need to shoot. Yeah, Denver.
He's
perfect.
There's Jokic fine. I can see that, but not a team, not any top 10 team, the top 10
right.
team. I can't see him. To your buddy's point, I don't get it either.
I just, and there's a lot of teams that are I don't get it at all. I think there's a chance he's going to fall, and people are going to be able to surprise. Because I've had teams talk to me that are picking later first round. They're like, we're looking to go up because we think he's going to fall.
The only team I could see him going to in the top 10 is Houston at 10.
Yeah.
Because there's a foundation of players there.
Yep.
And we put him next to Şengün. Well, Şengün's not exactly Defensive Player of the Year, let's just put it that way. But you put Murray Boyles next to him, there's a fit there, I think.
Right.
They have scoring already with Green and Fred and Şengün and Eamon Thompson. But that's the only team I could say, okay, I understand that. Because they actually play defense, and no offense to us, we got to get a lot better at that.
I was also going to joke and say he also seems to he seems like a guy that would fit next to Durant as well. So
I don't think you need to joke about that. That'd be exciting. And say it does happen. And say it happens.
Yeah.
Say it happens, and Raptor fans oh my gosh, here we go again. I don't think this is the typical here. Murray Boyles is fun. He's nasty around the basket. Defensively, I'm more excited when he's on defense on film. I get pumped up. I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. Because he processes it at a different speed than everyone else. Offensively, it's funny. I had a debate with a bunch of our NoCeilings guys this year because they're like, he won't shoot. And I'm like, I don't think it's because of the shot. I think he just knows I can beat everyone to the basket. I'm just stronger and I want it more. So he just says, I'm going to go take a 2-foot shot every time. Yeah, I can shoot the 3 if I want, but I could take you off the dribble and just bully you to the hoop. So I think there's a little nastiness with his game. I have him much lower.
His game as well, which
he
is
knows
really
it.
Important.
And his playmaking is really good. He doesn't have the tunnel vision. I joke he's the defensive Julius Randle. He's just the guy that's I know how to play defense and then I be a bully on offense. So you just have to have a specific team around him. I like Houston a lot. I like OKC for him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Spurs a little. Then it gets ugly. Then I'm like, I don't know where I like you. But yeah, I'm rooting for him not to go to you guys because I get it. I don't want you to have to do that dance anymore.
You'll have to check in with me, Tyler, on draft night if he does. If he does,
I mean, if he does, I'll just do one of these. I'll be like, oh boy, here we go. I promise I'll send you guys a text and be like,
When you
oh
mentioned
man.
that scouting report, I said like, oh, he's just talking about Mobo.
Yeah, and that's what
Yeah.
it would be like. You just took that pretty early second round last year. Now, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. To move on, final kind of conversation revolves around centers. The first one is, if you were the Vegas betting line odd man, not Jonte Porter, but someone.
Gosh,
someone. Hey, we're Raptors fans, okay?
I love that. I didn't even see it
say
coming.
you're setting the line, that people bet on. What is the over/under on centers going in the top 10?
Ooh, top 10.
This is good. This is. It seems like no one's asked you this question, which is good. So.
Probably 1.5.
Yeah, I like the half. True
Wow.
Vegas. True Vegas.
You told me I was Vegas. I'm like, all right, let me think about Vegas. I think there's. Yeah, I think there's one.
Yeah.
I don't. If you asked me a couple weeks ago, I probably would have said there's two.
Right.
I'm right now. I'm like cooling on another one.
The monarchy's in trouble, is it?
Huh?
The monarchy's in trouble.
I'm a little struggling with my boy Derik Queen right now. I'm struggling a little bit.
I hear you. It was a little rough to combine.
I've heard he's had a couple good workouts, and I think Toronto was one of them.
Yep, thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
it's not a surprise because I think he's got that big personality. I think people love him. I think Derik Queen, when he's on, is a heck of a basketball player. It's just, can you get that light switch always on? And when it's on, it's awesome. But I've watched games where it's off, and I'm like, oh, get away.
Yeah, he's a fun watch. I will say that.
Where's my man Newell in all this? Is he getting any sort of like
Asa?
Yeah,
I like Asa. I can't figure out. I can't figure out where he's going to go. No one can.
Yeah, because I personally like him better than Queen for the Raptors if he was there. Like, I mean, there's other options, but from a center perspective, say assuming Maluach is off the board, like I like Newell better than I like Queen. If they say they're picking for position and they want a center type, the guys I have this debate, they don't know if he's really a center. I personally think in this day and age, he's a center. Based on what I'm watching out here, we talk about Shangoon out here playing center. He can play center, okay? Like. That's my theory about it. Like, I've seen guys out here playing center that I'm like, he can play center amongst this bunch. So I think he's a better prospect overall than Queen to me. I think he's got a little more pop. He's got just as much pop offensively. I think he could technically be a better defender over time when he has better talent around him. That's my theory with me.
Yeah, I like Asa a little bit more. I've did some heated arguments with NoCeilings because I was like, I think he's an easy evaluation. He's good around the basket. I love bigs that catch the ball, keep it up, and go back up right away with touch, and he does that really well. He does a lot of boring stuff good. I think that's why people can't stand him. Is just like, well, he's just. And I talked to one scout. He's like, I love him. He's like, he just brings it. He brings his hard hat to work every day. Like, he's just one of those guys. And he just seems like the prospect we're not going to talk a lot about him, or he's not going to have a ton of buzz. And then all of a sudden 2 years later, we're going to be like, why did Asa go so late? Or why did he go down there? I don't know. I think I buy the shot. His team was pretty gross last year. I just didn't love their fit with their roster, so I think he could be a really good pick for someone. He'd be the one that like Toronto's not talking about, and they just like, oh, we're gonna take Asa.
Well, I just like him as plug and play off the bench.
Yeah.
I could play him next to Scotty Barnes, or I could play him next to Jakob Poeltl because that ability to stretch the floor, and he's got a nice, smooth lefty form. I agree with you, and these guys were kind of more on it than I was with Newell, but they've kind of sold me on him with his particular skill set. And I'm just like, that's an NBA rotational player potential starter someday, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that's where that's my biggest buy with him is what you guys are saying is the positional versatility. That's why I'm like, what, you guys are crazy. Yeah, no ceilings. The guys don't like him. I'm like, I get this 4-5 combo that I could either. I have now all this flexibility. If the shot comes around, now I have a floor spacer with size that I could play big. I could play him at the small ball 5 and space it out a little bit. Lob threat, good rebounder. Like, I mean, his rebounding numbers, you like him to be a little higher, but I've also just like, okay, all right. Now I'm being picky. Like when people complain about that, I'm like, okay, let's just calm down a little bit. So I like him. I like him
with Queen. He's not as versatile that way.
I mean, he was the terrorist, man, in the witness protection program. I don't know what happened.
True.
I had to double check one day, read an article. They are still in the draft, right? Because I don't hear anyone talk about these dudes. Like, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I go ahead. I don't want to steer the Queen ship too fast. So lead it off. Go ahead.
I'll just focus on like Queen and Queen, Maluach, and Newell. I agree with you from a Newell standpoint. I've been high on Newell, probably higher than consensus. The way that I look at with Queen, it's just his limitations are his limitations, and I don't know if this particular roster would be the best around him, but offensively he would be a great fit. But at the same time, it's like Beyond has made certain points where it's like there's a certain cliques that have formed in our fandom where if things go the right way with Queen, some people may not be happy. Let's put it that way. So you might come to the end of the fourth quarter and you're like, why does he have the ball, not Scotty Barnes? It's like, I mean, he's cooking. Like, the dude be cooking. I don't know what to tell you. Just let him cook. He's cooking pretty good. It's not burnt lasagna, so that's all I'm saying. So that's where I'm at. And I could see that being like a little bit, precarious for that. I would just tell him, do not go on social media. That's all I would tell him.
But Tyler, in our offensive system, of all the centers, Queen is probably the best fit, oddly enough. The way that our coach likes to do things, run things through the 5. Queen has great ability offensively to see the floor, to get a great first step. It looks like the jump shot is improving. Our biggest issue, Queen, I think I could speak for us mainly, is we worry about the athleticism. We worried about the defense.
Yep.
And for a team that struggles defensively, it's tough.
Especially out on the perimeter. If you have that much pressure coming in on the perimeter that you can't stop, it puts a lot of pressure on the back line.
Yeah. You also just said something before that as well. You said about consistency and motor. I think you just said that's a red flag for us.
Yes.
For a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets gross. I mean, this is my favorite time of the year because, like, after we get our draft guide at NoCeilings out and stuff, I'm like, okay, I can watch some full games to like just figure out who I'm puzzled by and kind of get my final conclusions. And Queen's been one of them where I'm like, am I as in as I think I am, or I'm kind of over? And I just watched a couple of games lately, and I'm like, oh gosh, and I'm focusing defensively, and I'm just like, oh man, there's some bad habits here. And it's just kind of like, closing out lazy or falling asleep that way, and a guy blows by. It's also just stuff where like an NBA coach would be like, go sit down. You're not playing. Like,
right.
Look what you're doing on tape. Like, and it's always dangerous because I always have to remember, like, hey, he's the guy at Maryland. Like, if they're going to bench him, he's going to be like, you're going to bench me? And I also think I get where the kids are coming from, but offensively when he's on, it's great. And then it's not every game for Queen defensively, because there is games where you could tell right away he's locked in defensively and he moves his feet good and he's battling. Marquette was what do you say?
It's not quick hands.
Yeah, you got offensively, if that's your guys' system and you want Derik Queen's an awesome fit. Because his playmaking is way better than people got to see this year. If you go back and watch his high school stuff, he is a freak of nature passer. It's unbelievable. He made a pass this year against Oregon, I believe. He threw like a left-hand bullet to the opposite corner, hit a guy right in the hand. I was like, this is one of the best passes I've ever seen. It's that special. He can bring the ball up. He has the handles. Like he is a very gifted player offensively. Someone just needs to, like, Derik, just buy in defensively. Just buy in to be an average defensively, and you could be an all-star. And there's a couple of games this year where when Derik Queen's on, he's one of the better players in this class.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when Derik Queen's on, like he gets up for big games, like Purdue on the road, he played really good. Marquette at home, he played really good. At Rutgers, but then you watch him against Washington, and you're like,
"Oh God,
this guy's not draftable." Like, and it's you just got to get the same guy. You got to get some consistency, and with him, I think there's so much upside. There's so much talent. So one coach thinks like, "Hey, I'll get Derik Queen rolling." Then you could have a heck of a player. And for everything you guys are telling me about Toronto, and it seems like a perfect fit, like of just someone to like, okay, the defense isn't great, but our offensive system might be really cooking. So I don't know. It's interesting. He's the one name I'm like, I could see him falling.
Yeah.
I could see someone falling, but I also could see a team falling in love with them and just being like, we're taking Derik Queen no matter what.
Now, the final person I do want to talk about is Maluach, just for a tiny bit, but beyond it.
Not Maluach, and then I want to discuss the question that you asked me about. I want to introduce that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, last time you were here, we talked about Maluach, and I painted a scenario where Maluach could go high, and it seems like that somewhat happened. I mean, the last game didn't quite go how we wanted it to go, where he's, but
it was rough.
It was rough. But hey, that happens. I'm wondering how you're feeling now about where he will go versus, I don't think you've necessarily changed your position on him overall, but like, do you now see him going as potentially, that top 10 person?
Oh, for sure. I don't know. I don't remember. So, a lot's happened. So what did I say last time?
I think you were basically saying he's very raw. I don't disagree with you.
Oh, okay.
I think the foot speed was the other thing.
The foot speed was the other thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of things we actually agreed on. One of the things that I've noticed is there's certain little small things. With him, you have to look for the small things. So for someone who just started basketball so recently, his tendency... So it's not the fairest comparison, but comparing him to Rudy Gobert, who even up till now brings his hands down, it just bugs me to no end. Maluach, funny enough, when in rebounding, as much as I think he can be better in terms of his positioning, and also as Beyond would point out, it's like a guy that big, just snag it down, right? Like, but he never brings the ball down lower than his chest typically. It's a very interesting thing that I noticed. The other thing that I noticed is that while he's slow-footed, he's actually yet light on his feet in some ways in the rolls, and his positioning and understanding of how to, I would actually say, in my opinion, what do I know? But compared to a guy like Misi, I think he's further ahead than Misi was at the same time as last year. So I found that,
for sure.
Misi with Walter, shout out to Walter. BC was sometimes getting in the way of Walter in terms of his roles. Now, to be fair, he had both Kahn and Cooper Flagg kind of helping him along with that. But I mean, he still there's for me there's something there. I'm not quite sure, but there is something there. There's something interesting. So I'll kind of kick it off with that. It's kind of more nothing in particular.
That was an observation about Maluach. I mentioned to the guys one time talking about Maluach. I don't know. I think his reviews are a bit of a paradox. People see him as a defensive player.
Yeah,
they see him as the strength. But when you really watch him, his strength is actually the offensive side.
Yes. That's how we feel.
That's what the numbers show too.
The floor is yours, sir.
No, I love that you said that. It bugged me the whole time because I'm like, he's not this elite rim protector. He's an offensive guy right now that's showcasing some rim protecting flashes.
I almost see him as the inverse of Lively in some ways.
Yes.
Yeah, you could for sure. I'm warming up. Now, why I'm warming up is because he's been on my list. Like I'm saving this till the end, where I was like, I'm gonna figure this one out. And I went back and watched his old South Sudan FIBA stuff. Just because I just wanted to watch how he moved on the court, and then I went and watched his last year Basketball Without Borders, like some of his scrimmages, and he was playing with Kasparis, who looked fantastic. And I was like, oh my gosh, he moves so much better now than he did back then. And he looked fluid in those games, but I was like, he moves way better now. And, you know, it's just with me, I'd be so scared taking that too soon.
Yeah.
Because it's the expectations. It's probably saying, like, if you're giving a top 5 pick, you're probably like, we don't have a lot of patience for you to just. If I was Toronto and I got him at 9, heck yeah, swing. Go get him, because you would be pumped to just be like, let's be patient. Let's keep it simple early, like that. Yeah, and you have the luxury of being like, we don't have to force him into the starting lineup because he's a top 10 pick, and then if he doesn't play good right away, we're pulling him. His confidence is ruined. I just think if you're really patient with this, you could find gold. Yeah, everyone that talks to me about his shooting, his 3-point shot, I'm like, I'm never going to draft a 7'2", 250 guy to shoot threes. So don't, I'm not fascinated by that. I'm fascinating about like his footwork, his post. Like, can he give me touch around the basket? Because if I'm drafting a beast in the middle, I want to buy the basket. I don't want him to sit out there. Could he hit a couple a game like a Jonas Valanciunas? Great, fantastic. But this is an Embiid where I'm asking him to chuck away from deep. So
please no.
Yeah, exactly.
And like
there's a lot of
Embiid can, like, I'm sorry, but what I always, Beyond and I have gone back and forth about, it's not that we disagree, but we just go on and about it, where it's like you watch Embiid in a series, it's like by the second quarter of the second game, it's like you just see him like shuffling away from the basket. It's like, no, dude, like you are so good inside, and like, sure, keep defenses honest, and even, I mean, his first year, I mean, he was shooting from deep like crazy. I go through the numbers with people because people oftentimes just forget about how good he was in his rookie season. I'm like, or I should say, the season that he first played, I should say. Hey,
that dude's a bad man. No, he's a bad. Embiid is a bad man. I mean,
yes.
Oh man, he's unbelievable. But I have my old man, diehard Celtics fan. Every time the Celtics would play the Sixers in the playoffs, he's like,
"Yes,
this is my favorite guy to play against."
Now this might lead into Beyond's question, I think.
Great, I can't wait.
Yeah. So just one last thing on Maluach, to give props to one of our listeners and someone we talk to sometimes. She brought up a great comp that we even think about, and I want to get your thoughts on this comp, because when she sees Maluach, she said she sees probably Miles Turner. And I never even thought of that. I say,
oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So props to Harley. We gotta give her a shout. Yeah. She said that. I was like, oh snap.
Yeah, I was like, oh
goodness. I love when it's a comp that I haven't heard all the time. I'm like, thank you. Like,
especially like early Miles Turner too.
Early Texas. That's got something there. I like that
one tonight.
Well, you know what? I get so puzzled because when I'm stuck on a guy, I don't like pro comps like as a 1-for-1, but I like to be like, what's the idea of him at the next level?
Yeah.
So like, the other one guy that's bugged me like crazy has been Jace Richardson, and the other night I was like, this is Derek Fisher. I was like, what if this is Derek Fisher? And then I just sat there for like an hour. I was like, this could be Derek Fisher. And then I was like, you know what? I get Jace now. Like. And I'm not saying it's a 1-for-1.
If his last name was Jay Smith, will we be talking this much, really?
No, but I think it's good enough of a player. So like with Maluach, it's everyone's like, well, Rudy Gobert, and I'm like, okay, give me another one, because I'm like, Rudy was also developed into an incredible defender. I don't think Maluach is going to do that soon. So I like the Turner a little bit better because there's more fluidity with Maluach.
They're the most aggressive rebounder as well, too. So
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yes,
And
yeah.
I think that's the big part for me too with Maluach is like I need to feel him on the board. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
There's true, but there's one thing that's working in Maluach's favor as well as some of these playoffs and some really tight games down the stretch. He's an 80% free throw shooter.
Yes.
You can't play Mitchell Robinson. You can't play Gobert. You can't play Jakob Pertl on our team. These guys who shoot like 60% or 50%. Maluach has that skill set. You can play at the end of the game when you're going to need someone. So if I'm a team and I'm out there, I'm like, okay, I have this raw prospect, big guy. Big guys typically take a little longer to develop, but he shoots almost 80% from the free throw line. We've seen flashes of him spacing the floor, shooting the three. I could see that kind of being attractive to a team for sure.
He's just such in a weird way, this type of player has become safe. So it's, which seems insane to say. Like I watch him, I'm like, there's not a lot of safety here, but worst case scenario, he's a gigantic rim running big.
Yeah.
I said that in January. I said, look, when the Maluach 4-4 or 5 came around, I said, look, man, there's a world in this case here. Maluach's a pretty safe pick because his floor is going to be pretty decent.
Yeah. It was just like at this, I'm still looking at this draft and I'm like, there's some really good upside swings though to dance with that. So I think it's a pick where it makes a lot of sense. If you need a big man, if you need that building block,
does he get past Charlotte?
I think he should.
He should. Yeah, but we go Charlotte though.
I think he gets to 6 and the conversation starts. I don't get 7. I've kind of heard some stuff about 7. I don't get 7 to New Orleans. People are mocking it. I'm like, it makes no sense to me.
I don't think so.
It doesn't make sense to me either.
It makes sense to me though, because I mean, in the Western Conference, you're gonna need some size. Like Eve Meaty ain't gonna be. They can't have him alone. It can't be that.
Yeah, I don't think that they can play together. That's the problem.
The rumblings is I don't know if they're as high on Missy as we think. Is what I don't know. I'm gonna do some digging around by it, but I was like, oh gosh, so that. I don't know.
But two raw bigs on your team, yeah, I don't know.
Their pick was ugly. This is the first time ever, I think, at NoCeilings today during our war room, we were just like silent. The whole room just sitting like, what the heck does New Orleans? So I don't know. Maluach could shock me and go earlier.
Joe G said he wants something big.
Yeah.
I don't think, in my opinion, I don't see, if he's there, I can't see him passing the Rockets.
Oh, no.
Because I don't know what's happening with Steven Adams long term, but like for them,
I don't
it's
think
like,
so.
You know what I mean? Like they don't really need much, so why not?
Be a great fit there.
That'd be a great luxury too. Maluach is 7'1".
Yeah,
it's tough because I think Brooklyn's praying that he gets to them. But then all of a sudden, I think Brooklyn will have a point of like they could have all of the guys they want like on the board at 8. It's like, well, which one do you really want here? So
okay, so here I have one question for you, Tyler. To get to 8. If Jeremiah Fierce is there at 8,
you stole my thunder, Coach.
Okay,
knew it.
I mean, you got to take him over Maluach, do you not, or do you just take him in general, regardless if he's there or not?
I got in a fight today during our war room over fears. So,
I see you in, man.
I was man, as the sum of all fears.
Gosh, I'm gonna steal that. I love Fears. That's my guy. And there's a lot of guys that know something that don't like him.
I don't get it.
The man of the moment, man.
I don't get it.
I get Fears 5 on my big board, and he's been there.
I got him 6. I got him 6.
I've heard. Well, okay, I've heard him as high as 4 at this point, so I don't know what.
If he was there at 8 to Brooklyn, and I think that's going to be what I think it's going to come down to him or Maluach, and I'd go Fierce. That's me, because you get the youth, and they're going to have a team where it's like you just play these guys, play them a lot. I think it could come down to those two, and then Yegor Dimon, and I think that's a really interesting debate of like, wait, well, what do you? I still think Fears would be my guy, though. I think Fears is what the year he had was unbelievable in terms of an evaluating perspective. I think it was tremendous.
So I heard this last week or so. A lot of people on the Fears wagon that the gap between, if we're just going from the role and the position, the gap between him and Harper isn't as big as people think it is. That is why I've been hearing more and more. Not saying you get picked too, but it's not as far away as people think it is. Tyler's like,
I think Dylan's a bad man. So it's weird because I feel like people are trying to downplay how good Dylan is now that I don't know if it's just like that's the thing you do when you know the number one pick, but
I mean, we wouldn't know anything about that. These Bailey guys, we wouldn't know anything about that. No, come on, Tyler.
No, I those are my top three. I like Dylan a lot. I think Dylan's a bad dude. I don't care the team. Like if I had the second pick, I'd take him. I think the Spurs should take him. I absolutely think they should take him.
So we had an interesting conversation with someone. I won't get into it just recently on the show and for the pod, and made a great point from the player's perspective. Is there something with the agents where they don't want to go to San Antonio? Because if I'm trying to put my name out there and try to make a name, I'm not trying to be the fourth fiddle in this case playing San Antonio.
Yeah.
It's a huge part.
Yeah.
It's a massive part. I think people like when we like mock drafts and stuff, it's a big part because there's a lot of agents that too also steer like we don't want to go here because we want to start.
Right.
Well, our guy's going to start. We want him to go. We want him to go to Brooklyn. He's going to start. We're not going to work out.
And his father's not exactly quiet on.
Right.
Yeah, he's pretty loud on. Yeah, we kind of like going here. No, we don't like going here.
Yeah.
So
I think there's some. It's tough for me because there's some proud parents, which is fine. Because hey, if I would be a proud parent too. But I also think there's just guys that are like, there's some dads that are quick to be like, that's wrong. I have good information. I have good intel on this. That source is wrong. You know what? I think Harper came out and he's like, he hasn't worked out for the Spurs yet. I know. He's my son. So it's just, you know pretty quickly when it's like, hey, there's going to be some agent problems. Like I asked a scout about a player projected somewhere and he's like, the only way he's not going there is if the agents get involved. And it's a big thing. Like the second round, it really comes into play because guys are trying to steer their clients. No, we don't draft us. Don't draft us. We want to be going to pick our own team, And
I think I remember with Ivy and the Kings, that was a little bit of the case as well back in the day.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like he wouldn't work out with the Kings and then,
I think the year the Celtics took Tatum, I think Josh Jackson was like, I won't go work out there because it's like you're never going to play me. That's a good one. But I think a lot of those wings were like, you've got Gordon Hayward. I'm never going to play. So why are you going to draft me,
Josh Jackson?
But it's always something you have to like. We do some mocks and it's like people are going like, why would they take it? And it's like, well, because the other option doesn't want to go there.
Oh yeah. It's almost better to be the third pick if everything's chalk.
Right.
Embiid's only got 2 years, good years left probably at this point here in the prime. Paul George, like the fossil of Paul George at this point. Like you can pretty much see yourself. If you're like a young guy, Bailey or VJ or whomever else or Johnson, you get picked to Philadelphia. You said, I got to ride these old boys out for 2 years, man. I'm ready to roll.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's good. It's a great point. I mean, I think the third pick is going to be where the party really starts. And I don't know. I still think it's going to be Ace.
Yeah.
See, Ace man through and through.
I still think it's good. I just it doesn't make. I've been thinking about that one a lot. It doesn't make a lot of sense the other routes, and Ace just makes a lot of sense.
He's actually the best pick for Spurs, actually, too. But I'm not going to tell him anything. Though.
Yeah,
Metcalf yells at me all the time about it. He goes, Ace fits better with the Spurs. I'm like, stop.
Yeah, I think that the Spurs. I hear what the Spurs. I'm a Harper man myself, but because of that, I feel like they should go in a different direction. That's just me. But yeah, it's a whole other discussion for another day. Tyler, we've taken up a lot of your time. And and also I think that is a good pod. Without a further ado, where can people find you? Where can people buy your draft guide?
Yes.
I'll definitely be putting that in the description below. But tell everyone about NoCeilings. I mean, people know you, of course, especially if they're listeners of this pod or of yours. But still,
Yeah, no, we're at NoCeilingsNBA.com. We put out a draft guide this year. It's a little over the top. We did 100 prospects, about 300 plus pages, but
313.
313. So it's been great. The sport's been awesome there. We worked our butt off on that. Thank you guys for having me on. I can't believe this is probably one of my most fun pods. I always do the draft cycle. So every time you guys ask me, I'm like, okay, I need to set some time because I like this one. I need to take, and I like them all. But you guys always have me laughing. So thanks for having me on. I'm rooting for the Raptors. I'm pulling for you guys.
Your beloved Raptors.
My beloved Raptors. I'm telling you. So.
That's right.
Hey, folks, man, when this guy's in the NBA executives on War Room, don't forget we small people are here, man.
Yes.
I'm going to call you guys when I'm on the clock and be like, who do I take?
Yeah, exactly. We're like when you saw Nirvana before it became big. You remember
yes.
this?
No, I always got time for you guys. Come on, no matter what. I love talking with good hoop heads, and you guys are the best. So I appreciate it.
I'll ask you, just because you mentioned what you mentioned, I'll ask you a final question, which is, if you were, what are you hoping for the Raptors? Are you hoping that they draft with this pick, or are you hoping that they go for a big fish? The big fish starting with the letter G.
With the letter G? I like the big fish is really fun. I've watched the big fish. Okay. Big fish gives me nightmares in the playoffs, so I know how good he is.
That do be true.
I mean, here's the thing with the big fish that a lot of people don't realize. The big fish is costing you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know everyone's gonna be like, "Well, Scotty, no, it's gonna cost you Scotty and a lot." Top 3 player in the world. I always tell everyone, the Spurs fans just had a field day with me. I can't stand them. They're like, well, we'll trade this. I was like, so you're going to trade 10 cents for $1?
That's right.
It's like the Bucks are going to hang up on you. Like the Bucks are going to give us Fox and Castle and picks and like give us all.
I love when they're. Anyway,
it's my favorite. It's just my favorite thing of like.
So we'll give you RJ and Pirtle, and we'll somehow get Giannis.
We'll somehow get Giannis.
I saw it today. We're RJ Pirtle and a first-round pick. I was like, okay,
and not this year. Not this year.
5 others. So my always thing is like, hey, I always remind everyone, it's like to get something really good, you usually have to give up what you don't want to give up.
Yeah.
So. Would I trade for Giannis? Yes, I would trade. I would do very much like Giannis is a bad man.
Yeah.
It's just also what's my team going to look like after the trade? And I think that's the biggest thing. And like people throw out the Houston with Giannis, and I'm like, what's the team look like after you trade for Giannis?
Yep.
I would draft. I would just stay and draft. Because I don't think Toronto's one mega swing away.
No.
Even in a weaker East. I just don't think, and I think this is a year you really could find something special at 9 that gets you like, hey, because the East is going to be wide open next year. Like someone's going to shock people and be kind of a lot better than everyone's expecting. It could be Toronto. You never know. But I think Carter, Noah, Maluach would all be names that I think would be good, safe picks.
Those are all on my board except for one other guy, which is Kasparis. So
I love him. I don't know why everyone's cooling on him. He'd be one of the top guys I'd like for them. Because I also think he's the guy that gets
program here. So
he's the guy that would get everyone in place.
Yes, that's exactly
mocked him. We might have mocked him today to the Raptors. I think we got to him and we're like, we all kind of went around the room. We're like, why? What's going on? And one guy was like, I forgot he got hurt, and he was on fire before. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear more like better things about him. So I think he would be a fantastic pick for the Raptors. It makes a lot of sense. He'd be a really, really good pick. So that's one that we didn't talk a lot about, but I think he'd be awesome.
Final thoughts by Coach and Beyond, then we're going to set it out.
Yeah.
Okay, just quick thing. Going back to, let's play it out just for a quick second. If it's Scotty, we all agree Scotty will have to be back in the deal.
Yeah, otherwise you're getting hung up on.
No, I'm not. No, I'm just being honest. We all.
I know, but some people think, you could give two ham sandwiches and rub a nickel and make a good meal.
Big boy pants on, man. Come on, man.
I don't know, unless you're blackmailing someone out in Milwaukee. Come on.
But the deal, Scotty, and whatever. I don't care what the players are, but I'm curious. You, as a draft aficionado, how many picks do you think would be required in that deal for a Scotty deal? Because that's the debate I've always been hearing.
Yeah.
Where I personally think 2 is enough. Because Scotty Barnes, I think it's equal to 2 picks in himself. I feel I'm
assuming you assume that it's the number 9 that would be one of those picks.
Well, I don't know. I would love to keep number 9 and give him 2 future ones, like 27 and 30 and 29 or something like that. Or
2, like I just get 2. I want 2 and swaps.
So
but I'm also like
or something.
Okay. I would ask if I wanted 3. I'd be like, I want 4 picks. Like, I would ask for way too much.
Right.
Yeah, it would be a lot. I'm a draft guy, so I'd be like, give me some picks. Like, I'd be like, let's start at Scotty and 4. Like, I'd be like, let's start here, and then we'll see what happens. So, like, but it's just you're trading Giannis. Yeah. So, like, that's what I don't think a lot of teams realize is like you're trading their biggest superstar they've had, a guy that just won a title, one of the best players in the world.
He's been a top player last 7 years.
You're paying to get that. So, like, you're paying to also, you have to sell them on trading that away. So it's like, I think Milwaukee just has all of the ammo. Like, I looked at his contract at the end of the season when people were, and I was like, they're not trading him. Like, they're going to just let him like, someone has to overpay us.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's going to take some time for this. And they could trade him, but I think it just would have to be like a monster offer.
Yeah.
The Kasparis thing, I kept chuckling when you two were talking about Kasparis. I just thought to myself, like, the best news maybe from a Raptors perspective is that the commissioner started talking about expansion. I'll just leave it at that.
I know where you're going with this too.
Yeah, we'll end it there, folks.
I got someone shipped out right now, Tyler, out to the Las Vegas Speeds, wherever the hell they're going to call it.
Absolutely.
I wonder how he looks in green and gold, perhaps.
with that being said, as with Basketball Rewind, like, comment, subscribe, people. As for everyone who's out there, if you like the mock draft reactions and all that type of stuff, stay tuned. And we are almost at 400 actually, so that we're almost 100 away from 500. So that is the goal right now. Everyone, take care, peace, stay well, and stay safe with all the wildfires and everything going on. So yes, take care, people, peace.